Everybody get up, it's time to slam now.
Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam. Come on and slam, if you wanna jam.
When flamingos raise a child, they lose the pink in their feathers. I never saw the pink in my mother's coat, always just some kind of gray. My sister would tell me stories about how my mother looked before I got here, till I began to equate her pink with her joy, meaning I learned how to steal somebody's happy before I took my first breath. And I think this is why I have always felt like the death of the party, the buzzkill. My mother was a monochromatic heaven turned gray skies and downpour. Me, the storm cloud, carrying reminders of past mistakes. Pink has always been my favorite color. I wonder if I fell in love with the pieces of my mother I never got to see, or if I am just trying to Crayola her joy back into this world. And as I have thought, the universe paints the skyline pink, as if to say, as long as I am here, her pink exists somewhere. Reminds me once I was her bundle of joy. I see her in smiles and flowers and sunsets, my mother, my favorite color, and me, her paintbrush, ready to Picasso this world, pink joy and black love, an abstract portrait of all my mother was and all I continue to be. When I say I am sorry, it is not an apology. It is the way I learned to introduce myself. I came into this world through destruction, C-section scars, and constant reminder, all the things you wanted and didn't get. Imagine a question hanging in the air amongst pink and blue balloons. I don't remember the party, but I remember the way your heart beat when you said, "It's a girl." How you spiraled into thoughts of lace and pearls, ponytails, and high heels, thoughts of a mini you. I did not imagine this. Baggy jeans and dirty nails, hoop dreams and broken promise. Your bundle of joy turned heap of sadness once. You told me you got the son you never wanted. And I wonder how someone could give birth to a construct. Congratulations. It's a disappointment. I imagined a gender reveal party in the corner of your memory up in smoke. You rushing to douse the flame with all the love you can muster. How often do you miss the little girl you envision? Does she hide under your tongue every time you say, "I love you"? When did acceptance become the casket you buried her in? The cremated remains of a gender reveal on fire. And most days, I wish I could thank you, sacrificing your dreams for mine, to say, "I am grateful. Allow me to reintroduce myself." If you give a mouse a cookie, then he will ask for milk. If you give a man a badge, a gun, a false sense of power, he will ask for immunity, the freedom to kill at will. Last week, a cop shot an unarmed citizen, used excessive force on someone having a mental health crisis, threatened to arrest a homeless person for sleeping anywhere. You see, the thing about this poem is I could have wrote it 2 years ago, next year, this morning, and it would still be true. The cops in my city have decided they will no longer come when we call. Figure if we are going to protest a death, there is no reason to keep us alive. Officer voicemail reporting for backup has a different kind of ring to it. Guess it's a call of duty, especially when you got black ops in this modern warfare. We said defund. They heard defend and refused to do either. Say no one wants to be a cop anymore. Sounds more like they don't want to be held accountable, more like they can all just go to hell in the same handbasket as the rest of the bad apples. Bruised egos and body cams, riot gear and wrong decisions, walking a thin blue line between protecting corporate assets and serving a community. We never needed a mouse to see how the cookie crumbles. Just give a man a badge, and he will milk it till you take your last breath.
I'm the poet of my mind, which means I can't be trusted. Searching out to find, so the prints have all been dusted. Leaving clues and evidence Breadcrumbs on the ground portends a path that might just have an end, despite the ups and downs and bends. You can come along and follow. On a journey, ground is hollow. Every breath feels like it's borrowed. Dread that death collects in sorrow. Fear tomorrow, fear today. Fear is clearly in the way, blocking ear with flood of tears, blurring vision, buzzing ears, commandeering parts I needed, when so young on trauma feeded, until I broke and conceded to advice I finally heeded. Plans were changed, all rearranged. Therapy to curb the strange, thoughts and meds to shrink the range on the spectrum of deranged. Seems so plain, so obvious to everyone around, but I was blind, stuck in my mind like 6 feet underground. Dead man walking, body chalking, never pitching, always balking, said man talking, rambling, anything that random brings, tattered, torn, and shambling, head like eggs are scrambling. This is your brain on drugs of a kind, to entertain and delve deep in my mind, peel back the layers and look past the rind. I truly do hope you like what you find.
What was meant to destroy me, you were the one sent from the universe to recreate my creation of a Hallmark movie, the likes of which something was off. In the peak of pretend performance to bring me to my knees, I was a terrible actress. Insured of my previous life, brought it to an ugly conclusion, with hearts ripped out, left a path of wreckage, unsuspecting as I was blindsided by your innocence. But I was gaslit by the spark. I felt fire between us. Every time I thought of you, my face would hurt from smiling so intensely. Your eyes filled with lights, blinding me, forgetting myself, and which star was burning out. You became a black hole, gathering me amongst your minions. But the spotlight was forever yours. Never learned how to share it. You made no room for another player, edged out by your ego, which became inflated by the hot air of your well-meaning fans. Each one guilty of blowing smoke, lying to save your face, your temper, destroying everything in its path. I have yet to be reborn from the ashes of my burnt flesh.
I have to believe the king navigating the boat that held Columbus felt he was leading him to slaughter, saying to himself and the stars, my brothers and sisters will see the evil in the eye of this tyrant, see his ambition fueled by hellfire and brimstone, soul worth the pain to see him fail. Just didn't know the family wasn't privy to chess, the art of war and manipulation, never saw evil in black and white, weren't planning to be placed in square cages. Imagine the game being played from one side, plans of destruction in place, ships full of ravenous greed, moves ahead, pawns already engaged, G2 to G3, B2, B3, knights and muskets at the ready, bishops set to deploy, Cheshire cats smile over hooded intentions, a chief hunt, wrapped in religion and pilgrim garb, carried by Santa Maria, Jesus, a white hope, religious misfits searching for a kingdom, found established commodity, traded rape and pillage for golden opportunities against will of Pocahontas. They poke and haunt us, wolf crying like a crow screaming Jim. F1 to H3, C1 to A302, D2 to D4. They didn't know the game was being played without them. Even the women had plans of attack. Scurvy labia on the laps of braves. E1 to A5. Territory surrounded. Tapping on smallpox bones for shucked corn and a jive turkey. The earliest form of blackface. Minstrel in the way they made land bleed. Our kings weren't prepared to protect this kingdom from armed sadists with kleptomaniac tendencies, thirsting for stolen booty, never knew not to bring love to a gunfight. Castle is how Darwin changes the origin of native black. Rook, check, genocide. How could they have known, seen it coming? Why didn't the moon make the tide send a message to the shores of America, the Caribbean, Africa, the kingdom was never meant to bear the weight of chains. The game of war, I mean chess, was never meant to be one-sided. Either way, we come out victorious in the end. Checkmate.
I have a trigger warning for vulnerability. I have a trigger warning for pain that can be hard to hold in. I have a trigger warning for open heart surgery performed on stage, for the sacrificial knife held aloft because some higher power needs proof. I have a trigger warning for family unfriendly phrases and words that rhyme with fuck. I have a trigger warning for a poet in pain, writhing in words, talking tragedy, feeling shit, and sharing. I have a trigger warning for verbal violence, for truth you take in the solar plexus, for doors kicked in and secrets dragged out, screaming into the light. I have a trigger warning for actually being seen, for masks lifted, souls glimpsed, and flaws exposed. I have a trigger warning for eyes once opened that cannot be closed. I have a trigger warning for meaning with a capital M. I have a trigger warning because the person sitting next to you is holding in the hurt. Because someone in this room is in crisis. Because this life is just too brutal to do alone. I have a trigger warning because I'm talking to you. Because this is about us. Because what we feel matters. This is your trigger warning. Because if you're listening, this could make a difference. If I do my job, these words will trigger you.
Ginger ale and daddy issues. I like men. In fact, I think I exited my mother's womb with a hankering for that Y chromosome. I also love ginger ale, and my mama told me she drank ginger ale by the gallon when she was pregnant with me. Now, don't think I'm trying to say my mama was a hoe. Far from it. My mother was a God-fearing country girl raised with Jesus in her mouth and heart and praise in her mouth. No, what I'm trying to say to you is that while there is a direct correlation between my mother's love of ginger ale and my own Canada Dry obsession, the same cannot be said of my appreciation for men. My father is not a tall man, and yet people call him Big John. He can walk faster than any human I've ever seen. And I think that's why I walk so fast, because deep down, I'm still just a little girl trying to catch up to her daddy. My brain knows my father loves me, but he never had time for me when I was little. He was too busy trying to make his mark in this world. And I learned early that I was not enough to hold his attention. Those online tests say I'm pretty smart, and I guess I was smart enough to learn that if I couldn't get the love I needed from daddy, I would find it from someone else. So I set out to find the man who would tell me he loved me and that I was beautiful every day until death do us part. And I married the first one to gift me with those words. I had gone looking for a man to fill up my not enough. I went looking for a man to complete me. I went looking for a man to make me happy. I thought I found him, and I acted out of hand to stitch my heart and fill my cup. Raise your hand if you know what I found. Humpty Dumpty laying dead on the ground. It wasn't me who knocked him off the wall. It was the trauma I inflicted that made him fall. I pressed the concrete mixer button of generational trauma and hit blend, then slid down to rock bottom and watched my hands extract my heart, hooked it to an Inquisition stretcher and watched it rend in two to soak myself in the acid of self-loathing for half a decade until I labeled myself the Walking Dead. And when personal growth arrived, it brought lavender and nettles because I had grown past my trauma on the back of my own flesh and blood. I had to destroy my marriage to realize I am enough. I had to hurt a good man. I had to hurt my daughter. I had to fail as a mother and a wife. I had to get fired from my job. I had to drown in liquor and numb myself with pot. I had to spend half a year's salary gaming. I had to fuck people. A lot. They say you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find a prince. I kissed a whole damn pond and still didn't find that fool. Because I wasn't ready. Because I still didn't understand the truth. And I don't know if I could ever forgive myself for hurting people I love, but at least I have finally learned what the universe needed me to know. That I am enough. I am enough. When I take my makeup off tonight, I'ma say it. When I get up in the morning and brush my teeth, I'ma say it. Every time I pass by a mirror, I will look in that thing and say it. I am enough. I exited my mother's womb loving men, but I don't need one anymore.
My back hurts. I lack words to express this pain. It's impressive considering expression is my game. I feel dyslexic trying to say, burning embers of electric spikes run in my veins, like chains wrapped around my brain, making me insane, dragging me through flames towards a psychological death. My every breath, fighting to cast aside the pain and hide it. If I ignore it and ride it out, my brain will block it out. Nope, it's still here, gnawing away at my sanity. Gravity left its everlasting mark on my body. Sad to see a young man in pain, glad to be that someone so someone else doesn't have to be. Scars backed with horrid stories, jars packed with the sordid glories, the sort of inventories that shamans carry, distorted memories that nations bury. Hurry to the next sunrise. Hurry, just rise. Rise once more, blurry eyes as I writhe around on the floor. Lie beside myself because being myself hurts too much. Close my eyes and wait for the touch of death. I slow down my mind so I can slow my breath. This pain is waiting for me to give in, but my brain is tilted in a way it seems to fit in, hoping this train stops and lets me get in. Coping is all I got, so I'll never give in and let this pain win.
The Adventures of a Lost Balloon. You don't know the true feeling of freedom until you are granted freedom by the freeing of one's chokehold. I've been tied down all my existence and crave for what is beyond the familiar and known. Call me Ruby Soho, destination unknown. I don't see the wonderful world depicted in my oppressor's favorite song. I see skies of green and red pools of blood, genocide and idiocy prancing in the mud, and I say to myself, what a horrible world. Tower of power, too sweet to be sour. Sky is the limit and space is the place. I want to venture for absolute adventure. Time to take in the sights to behold out of this world. I want to meet up with Stevie Wonder at Saturn, where the air is clean, where the rings all glow, rainbow moonbeams and orange snow, where people live to be 205, where the people smile and don't need cars because they've learned to fly. I can fly twice as high. However, I know my limits. I'm only a drifter that cannot be bothered by strangers as my existence rises to its pending doom. It's pretty lonely up here, but not as lonely as it was being down there. As I keep rising, I start seeing a different side of the world. excuse me, there are less people, less war, less pollution, less hurt. I see sunrises and sunsets, lakes, oceans, and streams, a spectacle of nature's splendor out in dreams, and I think to myself, humans gotta stop fucking up this world.
I never need a bitch. I'm what a bitch need. I'm trying to find the one that can fix me. I've been dodging death in the 6 speed, drinking, smoking by myself. Damn, I really miss Key. I've been repping God. I know the devil out to get me. Dreaming about my dad. Righteous how I move. You'll never catch me moving shifty. I left my home for a while. I don't think they miss me. Oh well, fuck the past. I'm about making history. And I wish the best to anybody out that diss me. You from the hood, right? Ain't you tough? How could this be? Tough don't pay the bills and my children can eat off bitch beefs. I'd rather take these bars and put them on a beat from Swiss Beats. Cause chilling, doing nothing and complaining, that shit's beat. Tell somebody you're playing, they say, scram, man, that shit's weak. Then you blow and somehow they the first person that gets geeked. So I'm heartless. Society is dumbing, so I guess I'm on some smart shit. You a shrimp, I'm on some shark shit. Like in America, how could I not see dark shit? Imagine what it takes to shine a light up in the dark pit. My father, the father, and Malcolm X sparked it. Just recently, Nipsey Hussle reignited it. I built a private plane, go to glory and the pilot. Them old vehicles can't match the lane that I'm flying in. Fuck living a lie, ho. The truth is what I'm dying in. And on that day, but it ain't no way I'm crying when I know that's the moment my young prince begins siren. King shit. R.I.P. 8-ball and hemp. No bling shit. Shining with the righteousness within. If you ever hear me rep somebody gone, know they was them. My army in heaven heavy. On angels ain't running thin. I want to talk to my pops. That's easy. It's Shaq and Shem. The Joneses is filled with women, because women and all of them. I said the Joneses is filled with women, because women and all of them. R.I.P. my Uncle Mark. You can't find more innocence. R.I.P. my brother Mark Fuquana. God, I'm sorry that I left my friend. I lost my heart and my mind. I tried to always do right. I thought I lost me this time. I just came back in mine. I tried to give up on me. I'll never know what you see. I don't do well when alone. You hear it clear in my tone. So I'm heartless. I'm trying to find a Lisa, but I stay up on some shit. It's my reaction trying to get my heart quick. So I'm blacking out till I get my black card, bitch. Why not be heartless? Tunnel mission, swimming. I said tunnel vision, swimming in this shark pit, fuck a bank, gold bars, stash under the carpet. My mind right, my money right, bring it warm.
Back in the day, you could order true love with French fries on the side because you knew the farmer was anti-chemicals and the French kisses were just a bonus because you wanted lips soaking in the very energy of I love you. I am so happy you're here. Then love got cancerous and you could walk down the street counting dozens of open mouths that had sores from carrying love on their lips, and it saddened songbirds how many people chose to stay inside more. Back in the day wasn't even so back in the day because we used sundials to calculate time. So the sand was always put to good use compared to now where all sand is thrown into fresh graves. So none is left for our gardens because even roses got darker and darker until each petal looked like the Grim Reaper's coat. Remember when you could gloat about good neighbors? Now all this currentology has neighbors complaining about you raking leaves than asking if your tree needs some water. Back in the day, a tree would grow so wide it fed fruit to the other side of the fence. Now even trees have grown T-Rex branches and the authorities have placed taxes on each apple and Judas now sells each branch to a logger. for 30 pieces of silver. Back in the day, even days themselves had names. Now it's meet you whenever, as if we truly have that much time in the world. And when you die, people flock to your grave like flies on shit, knowing damn well they continuously shit on your legacy. And the smell never bothers them at all because they would love to have watched you live as you decompose. But back in the day was suspicious too. Because no matter how much it warned us about today, we were so damn sure back in the day would remain what it was. So when we started losing the things we love, the clock was too old to be unwound. Back in the day, tried to warn us that there are so many sewers that can burst at that very same moment when everything smells like heaven, and that when it overspills, you won't be able to tell which is hell and which isn't. Back in the day, you could have never doubted each heaven you visit because real angels resided there.
There are 4 rules when handling a lethal weapon, and I wonder, as I lay here decaying corpse, if the man who shot me dared to follow any of them. 1. Treat every firearm as if it is loaded. He picks up his iPhone 47, removes the safety. His hands do not tremble as he sits the weapon on his pinky, stabilizes himself for the cleanest shot he can take. 2. Never point a gun at anything you do not wish to shoot. But I do not think he cares about aim. His plan is to hit anything that glimmers. He loads his social media with hollow points. Hatred is the most deadly ammo you can buy and still a cheap shot. 3. Do not place your finger on the trigger until you are ready to shoot. He places his thumb on the post button repeatedly, sprays his bullets across the horizon of my For You page, and bang. God will forgive a rapist, but will not forgive my gay. Hits me clean through my chest. Out of the exit wound is this poem, gasping for air, clinging on to life. What do you do when your chest becomes an open cage, releasing cardinal sins into the sky? Bang. He shoots down pride. He says we have nothing to celebrate. If we want a party, he will give us a funeral. 4. Unload your weapon when not in use. He logs off, and I am still here, dying, burying myself in the shallow grave of a status, asking if everyone is okay, if anyone else got hit, and Facebook becomes a bloody aftermath. We mark ourselves safe in the most unsafe space we know. As I dress my wounds, I hear trans is a mental disorder whiz right past me, and I duck. There are only 2 genders, grazes my left shoulder, but Leviticus 18 says, pierces my femoral artery. Y'all, I have died 100 times inside of an app, only to be resurrected a poet, dying and regenerating. No wonder we call it a cell phone. The thumbnails on our home screens line up like tombstones, each one a place we all go to die. When your First and Second Amendment rights start to tangle, you too will become twisted up in the noose we call homophobia, hanging from a bigot tree, a decaying corpse, wondering if the killer followed procedure.
I'm the poet of my body. It's all I've ever known. Would not call this a hobby, would not call this a throne. I'm really what I'm inside, though outside's all that's seen. A body filled with privilege and a brain that's never been. Balanced without intervention, balanced without help, balance between the tension that's residing within the self. But balance is overrated, and it can't be overstated that without a little wobble, oh, we'd be ingratiated to the world who throws out pearls to the swine for entertainment. That's not for me. This could not be, not something I would play with. But play is what I like to do with bodies, maybe 1 or 2, to gather, talk, and contemplate questions of life and satiate our need to have each other. We couldn't get to cover. The rains came down so goddamn fast and soaked us like a mother. Now dripping wet, my mind can't think, I'm feeling a bit smothered. Can't separate from feeling fate is lurking, sense it hover. Like right there, just over shoulder. Sensations got me spooked. It's what I use to hold her, or I will end up cooped. Not cooked, but crazy and bolder, just blown up like a nuke. I'm just a fluke or flounder, my body the compounder. It takes all of the input given and makes it go resounder. Like over and over in your ears, a ghostly tune to hound her, until she gives a piece of flesh that weighs at least a pounder. That's the cost of doing business, which is what I'm standing on. And y'all are here to witness how my body's not yet gone. You see with eyes, I stand on feet. With gravity, I must compete to stay up straight despite the weight. I feel all of this misplaced hate. Can't celebrate diversity without seeing difference. But it brings out the worst in thee, conflict for no good riddance. You must be kidding, can't escape this flesh and bone. My home inside my chest has grown, not shown this misplaced death, atone alone and be my best. But I confess, it's what I've dressed. This bod of mine, I'm so obsessed. It's like I said, it's all I've got. It's getting twisted like a plot, finger fisted, take your shot, eyes all misted, steamy hot. Like kettle pot, like physical, like bout to pop, like I am filled, like body bop, like doctor build, like make it stop, like till I'm killed.
A young queer Black man is dead. A young queer Black man is dead. Another young queer Black man is dead after being attacked by a group of teenagers who were trying to rob him. Were they trying to rob him, or was this another hate crime? While walking to the train station, or was it most likely running from an angry mob? David Manley was also known by their drag name, Gay Linda, is dead at age 23. Dead at age 23, another young Black man dead at the age of 23. And no police report was filed. And no arrests have been made. No arrest, no evidence of the attack was made. After the attack, David was taken to a local ER where they did not admit him. Why did they not admit him? Maybe he would still be here. Maybe here is still better than there. David had bruises all over his body, black and blue, and beaten for being Black and true blue to their identity, and was given a script, a recipe for death, and sent home. David died a few days later alone. They were found by a friend too late. Justice is always too late. Justice is erectile dysfunction. Justice is an arrest, not making an arrest. Justice is to first ask questions later. Justice is keeping score of another Black body hitting the floor.
I want to consume your smile like I sip my coffee. Brew me a seductive look in your eyes. Sound of ecstasy, induced enjoyment, kissable, rich and delectable, big cup, flowing down my soul, creamy and sweet, steaming in addiction, be my morning fix, an insatiable happy. The caffeine I search for, best part of my wake up warmth trickling down my chest, the jolt of energy to get me ready for the world just smooth enough to tame my rough edges. A couple spoonfuls of sugar to keep a smile on my face, pep in my step, and love on my mind, making it cozy in this pot of home I hold so dear. Press every wound on this body, experience seen by these eyes, take my doubt and whip it into a dream, my morning muse, the courage that pours to every pore you stir, us amazing espresso, me alive when I feel decaffeinated, not quite like myself. I need you more than you know. Cake cups can't hold the appreciation I have for you. Can't fathom losing your touch, texture like heaven on the tongue, perfect. How satisfaction rolls off, smells of everything I wish for. Just a hint of spice. My life ground into black silk, a blanket of roasted hugs. I love how you fold yours into my resting place. My morning blend of bliss, the truest balance I've ever had.
Mr. Grief left his card for next time. Now that the path is clear and the pain ain't so bad anymore. The smell of lightning rises from the ashes now that the house has burned to the ground. The peals of thunder are barely audible as the storm crawls away. So let the bells ring. Blows landed did their damage, but the pounding's done. Black eyes and broken hearts, there's still rage in this ragged man. Holding on to ropes to stay standing, but I was never strong. This fighter doesn't get to fall. So let the bell ring. Feeling damned made death's dance seductive until putting my shoulder down pushed the dark back enough to get the words out. But demon songs still echo in my ears no matter how much I heal. So let hell ring. I've had my bell rung, been stung, flung. I've fallen, but I never had wings. Always too far from heaven to be heard, but still spitting scripture like some devil's son. So let the muse sing. May these verses resonate. May they give you fuel to fight. Maybe we can spend what we have left feeling less alone. Healing hearts, grabbing hands, listening. I'm listening. I'm still listening. So let the bells ring.
Cancer made me a junkie. We want the drugs that make us feel good, but doctor pushing that chemo, the drugs that shred my humanness, made you vomit? Here's some Zofran. That didn't work. Here's Finnegan. Stomach problems, opening lab coat to show fake watches in the form of 6 different quack potions for the stomach problems the chemo caused. For cancer's excessive exuberance in my corpus, the PX is poison that shuts down my cell factories, molecular anarchy that deconstructs my biorhythms and my chi. It's a DNA level disruptor, and I've been rewired. The oncologist inserts hands into meat shredder claws, pierces me with them, pulling my fibers apart to find the rot in my hide of human filet mignon, because chemo hungers for the feast of human flesh. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, and chemo's enemy is cancer, but I never conceived of hiring demons when they said this was what was needed to win. The end justifies the means, or at least that's the philosophy. But if you lie down with demons, you're going to get up with fleas and mange and dysentery and the things that aren't said. Like if you live, you'll be divorced because marriages rarely survive that destructive force. Have a burned out thyroid, be ADHD. Hell, I think I've become bipolar too. My mirror no longer reflects the old me. That's what happens when you hire the plagues of hell to reiki you. You die, or you're left with a shell of what used to be there. I heal with love and light, but the oncologist toolbox takes healing to a nuclear fight. And when you're about to die, even the black dirt of Satan's sandbox looks like the soil from Jesus's garden. But like Pandora's box, there's no going back once you open it. Alice with her bottle of drink me, and innocence is destroyed because you carry the stamp of that poison within you forever after. You have to make a choice to stand in the blazing heat of the light of the sun and let divinity arm your arm with its sword, because the darkness wants to suck you back down, wants to hook up another IV of vampire blood. In the end, it's still choices. You have to decide how to live when chemo treatment has reverse imaged your life. I guess the only thing that cancer didn't change was the ability to choose wrong or right. And in walking that path, I have been reborn to my soul's true purpose. I walked through chemical fire. The hair on my body and head burned away to finest ash. My life unformed so it could reform to a higher purpose. Cancer and chemotherapy were an army tank division grinding through my life. Even Mother Goose never said it was kind. I would never have chosen to hurt my husband and my child, but all of this had to happen for me to be my own green mile. I didn't die, but I did sacrifice my life. Chemo is evil shit, and after cancer tried to kill me and chemo cremated my life, guess the Toxic Avenger got the last laugh, because what's left is OG in the form of divine light. Buddhists talk about rebirth, but my life force didn't unplug. My soul rebooted hard, and I didn't know the unseen gloves. We all make choices, and I choose warrior. I'm boots on the ground for this fight. There's a lot of evil out there, so look into my heart chakra. I have something to show you. Look with your third eye, and what you will see is infinite light.
I'm gonna try to keep this basic. Let's face it, karma is a mosaic of ever-changing faces. Misdirection and blind spots never seem to erase this. In reflection, my thoughts, forever unseen due to displacement, never lost. We are all surrounded by this encasement, confounded by the idea of no ideas, or matter, for that matter. Minds shatter, shudder, and flutter off at the thought of no thoughts. Thoth taught us that our minds are the universe, one song in harmony with all. Underneath it all, I still find ways to forget this. Silly me, trying to feel uplifted. Really, I see the only gifts that are given are those chosen by a mystical rose frozen in time. Cynical at times, my mind wandering, wondering why this umbilical cord was never severed from it all. Infinite energy swirling swiftly around me lifts my feet from the ground with ease, teaching me to believe, seeping into the seams of my being. It's so freeing, leaving nothing but hopes and dreams, weaving in and out of my conscious scope of reality, a time traveler of mentality, thinking of rhymes, tossing signs in the air, hiding in the science of actuality. Remarkably, I still strive to stay alive, but why? I ask again and again, and one last time, why? Why you? Who is who if we are one? If all is none, and everything resides in nothing, then something must decide anything can happen. Wait, I said I was gonna keep this basic, so I'm just gonna say it. Not a single mind can convey it. I challenge you to portray it.
Being with you gives me a warm, nostalgic feeling to a time when I was a more complete human being. A tender sense of familiarity looking into your eyes brings forth a swarm of dope butterflies that swells my insides as I fly sky high all the way up to cloud 9. You are so sublime. You don't even know how fine of a dime you are. I want to gaze into your eyes under the moon and stars, getting lost, finding passion larger than the size of Mars that eclipse any and all scar tissue memory meteors, with the potential of finding true love much easier. How dope would it be to see how it could be if we can agree to be a wee bit closer to a degree, to see how it would how it could be if we could plant this seed and watch it turn into a solid oak tree, symbolizing our unity as we branch out to infinity. If I boldly entrust you with the key of my heart, that's me saying I'll love you beyond the point I depart from this realm. As long as we keep things heart to heart, our love has the potential to brush strokes of rainbow arts on the canvas of the world around us and jumpstart a revolution in our hearts as we strive for state-of-the-art love.
I'm a fascinating trinity of sailor, ship, and sea. But none of these three would ever make it to shore if you didn't become a lighthouse for me. Whichever I am on any given spectrum, I need you to light my way. When I have been the sailor, the sea rose from its mother's womb like Poseidon, and its trident waved its middle finger of a tidal wave threateningly. When I was the ship, icebergs laughed an icy laugh that had my mast frozen immediately. When I was the sea, I was angry at everything floating on the surface, so I waved goodbye to so many people that in their drowning, I kissed them with salty tears that they can no longer remember because of how much my grief stung their wounds. But all I ever needed was a lighthouse. Did not care if the lighthouse keeper was asleep at odd times, only needed a light that bounces on the water like it's allergic to it, closing its nose to the stench of the waves until it reaches me right here. I'm a fascinating trinity of sailor, ship, and sea. My grandmother said, sail the seas with your eyes open. This woman had never seen the sea in her life, but somehow she knew a thing or two about sailors. She said, my grandbaby, if the sea talks rough to you, talk back and keep darting your eyes far and wide to look out for your savior of lighthouse. But she was quiet about the ship inside me, because she had seen one slave ship too many, yet she didn't hold back on her views about the sea and its waves. She said whenever its waters touch the shore, a lighthouse has been there to save the day. So baby, my baby, be my lighthouse. My grandmother is a lighthouse. And me being me as a child, I would make paper ships, drive them towards the shores of her chest so she can prove that the light that basked inside of her stood on a hill that was best friends with the sea. She thought it was funny until one of those paper ships gave her paper cuts that still hurt until this day. Because a lighthouse can't hide the light from its eyes. Loving me is to be a lighthouse, to sit there and observe me, sailor, ship, and sea. As the turbulent waves raise their tridents and as Poseidon feels the intrusion, I am easy to love in the night. When the sea is turbulent, I am easy to love in the night. When the ship is unsteady, I am easy to love in the night. When the sailor is losing sleep,